An old line had been discovered not far from Thomas's branch line. Most of the rails had been torn up, and when Sir Topham Hatt inspected it, he was surprised to find that it led to an abandoned mine. "Seems a pity to just let the place rot," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We can rebuild and turn it into an attraction for visitors." One evening, Thomas, Percy, and Toby were all down in the mines clearing away freight cars for the day. The setting sun cast everything in shadows, and a mist was rolling in. "What do you reckon this place is haunted?" Thomas whispered to Percy. Percy grinned. "What's the matter, Thomas? Not still scared of ghosts, are you?" "Certainly not, so long as you're not still scared of dragons." "Humph. Thought we agreed not to mention that again." "Okay, that's enough, you two," Toby snapped. "We do this every autumn. Who's the bigger scaredy engine? It'd be much better if you two would just get on with your work and forget about your silly ghosts." He puffed away, leaving Thomas and Percy both feeling very silly, and a little annoyed with him. One afternoon, Thomas and Percy were shunting in the yard, getting ready to take more waste to the junction. As they waited, they noticed the signalman coming up from behind an old shed, looking dusty. "Hello," said Thomas's driver. "What are you up to?" "Getting ready for the return of the old warrior." "Who's the old warrior?" asked Percy. "An engine who used to run on this railway. Since the line is being reopened, he'll be back soon." And he told the two engines the story. That evening, they joined Toby in the shed. "You'll never believe what the signalman told us tonight," said Percy. "He told us about a ghost engine called the Old Warrior," said Thomas. Toby looked doubtful. "The Old Warrior, eh? Who's he then?" "One of the engines who worked in the mine," said Percy. "Apparently, when the line was closed, he was left on a siding to rot, never to run again. And now that the mines are being reopened, he's going to return," added Thomas. "Signalman said he'll light his fire, then go hunting." Toby snorted. "Engines don't go hunting," he replied. "Stop being silly." Thomas and Percy simply smiled and went to sleep. The next day, Toby was in charge of the mine runs. He brought down some empty cars and looked around. The place still looked a bit spooky, but he did his best to forget the story. "Old warrior, indeed," he snorted. "Ha! Young engines today." Then he spotted the signalman walking towards the old buildings. "Off to check on the old warrior, are you?" he asked teasingly. The signalman smiled back. "Sure am," he replied. "Thomas and Percy told you, eh?" Toby's grin faltered. Yes," he stammered. "So, is what they said true about the engine being left to rot, and now he's returning?" "Absolutely. He'll be back tonight. I'd best start preparing." Toby stared. "Nonsense," he muttered. "No such thing. Can't be." Just then his driver spoke up. "It's our turn to stand here on guard tonight, Toby." Toby jumped. Yes, but why not?" he gulped. That night, Toby stood alone in the yard. His driver and fireman were huddled in the cab, keeping a lookout, while the tram engine watched every shadow and twitched at every sound. Suddenly, "It's the ghost!" "What ghost?" his driver asked. "It's the old warrior. He's come to hunt me down." "Don't be so daft," said the fireman. "We'll go and investigate." They returned quite soon. "The old warrior wants to meet you," said the fireman. "Can't it wait till morning?" "Ghosts don't work day shifts," teased his driver. Toby trundled slowly forward. There, on a siding, was a narrow-gauge engine smiling cheerfully at him. "This is your ghost, Toby," laughed the signalman. "Evening," the engine grinned. "Name's really Bertram, but they called me the Old Warrior because I never shied away from working in the mines." Toby stared. But Thomas and Percy said that you were a ghost." "Yes, I'm afraid they added a few extra details to what the signalman told them. They said to say you can officially consider yourself a member of the Spooked Club." Thomas and Percy enjoyed teasing Toby, who took it in stride, but they all admitted they ought to take a page out of Bertram's book and be old warriors as well.